I am here today with the one and only Michael DeLon. Michael is a best-selling author. He is the teacher of how to speak your book. This dude is a credibility expert. And I'm going to leave no more words to be said. I'm going to let him do all the talking. Michael, welcome to the show.
Jake, thank you, man. Thanks for having me. It's going to be a fun conversation. We speak of the same language, and it's going to be great.
Absolutely. Now, we both work with authors. We both work with people helping them bring their book to life.
Yep.
You specialize in something, though, that to the first time someone may hear it might be like, what does he do? How does he do it? Yeah. And I want to start here, which is you actually tell people do not write your book.
Yep.
What is your method of actually helping people get their books done?
Yeah, we have a speak to write process, Jake, and we have a staff of writers where we actually interview our clients, get the content out of their head into print, and then we actually write the manuscript based on their words, their tone, their voice, which saves just a ton of time. Because what I find is most entrepreneurs and business owners are they're thought leaders, they're speakers primarily. They're not great at English. And sitting down and typing out a book is hard because you're self-editing. That's what happened when I published my first book. Is I'd write a paragraph and I'm like, no, that's not it. I'd delete. It was frustrating. So we created this very simple process where you're actually talking to somebody else. They're asking you questions. You're talking about your business. And then we do the actual physical writing of the book, but it's in your words, in your language.
Mm-hmm. How did you mentioned writing your book, you mentioned this is kind of the direction that you go. How did you kind of come into this and figure out this process?
Yeah, so this all started, man, when I escaped from prison about 11 years ago. Now, it wasn't a physical prison, Jake. It was an emotional prison. I was in a job that I hated actually, it's a family ministry that I've been with for a decade. And my background's in marketing and Christian radio and stuff, but I was in this family ministry. And when I left and escaped prison, finally, I started a marketing consulting firm here in Little Rock. And I'd come talk to you and you'd meet with me about your business. And somewhere in that conversation, you'd say, now, Michael, who have you helped in the last few years? I said, well, I built marriages and families at Family Life. And you say, Michael, that's honorable. Way to go. Oh, look at the time. I've got another meeting. Let's keep our conversation going. Let's get to another point. Man, you usher me out the door. And I wasn't getting any clients because nobody saw me as a marketing guy. They saw me as a ministry guy. So I went to my church and I prayed one day and I said, God, how do I help Jake? Because I know I can. And he gave me the idea, laid on my heart, says, take all your ideas and put them in a book. And so I did. I went and I wrote on marketing, my first book back in 2013. Then I'd set an appointment with you, Jake. I'd mail a copy of my book to you. I'd walk into your office a week later and there it was. My book was on your desk, dog-eared, highlighted, underlined. You'd read my book. In that meeting, you'd say, now, Michael, in your book, you said, how do you help me do that? And you'd hire me. And I started gaining clients and I'm a marketing guy. I said, man, this is really cool. Why don't business owners do this? Well, you and I know it's hard to write a book. There's just a lot to it. And so I built a process and a system to eliminate all of those barriers and created what's today's Paperback Expert. So it just came out of my own experience to go, business owners have a lot to share. And there's no better credibility building tool than being an author. We just found a way to make it simple for business owners to communicate, which is what they do all day, every day anyway.
Yeah, dude, what a story. What a story. Unbelievable. What do you think is your first step when authors come to you and they're like, I know I'm being called to have a book. I want to have this book. I want to make the impact. I want to grow my business. What's the first step, in your opinion, that somebody needs to do?
Get an absolute crystal clear message. Okay, that is by far, that's always where we start, because most business owners are in the sea of sameness. They're not saying anything different. And Jake, they all have a story to tell. They're just not telling it. And they're so close to their business, it's hard for them to figure it out on their own. And that's why they need you. And that's why they need me as an outside perspective to find that story, to discover it. Let me give you one example real quick. I've got dozens, but this one's one of my favorite. Personal injury attorney in Florida. He's the little guy. He's got two Goliaths, personal injury guys. You know, they're spending $100,000 a month on marketing. My guy says, I can't even get close to that. I'm like, all right, tell me your story. I got his story, his background. I'm like, why do you live in Florida? He's like, well, I came down here on a baseball scholarship. I was going to go to the pros as a pitcher. Great. Second year in college, he threw his arm out and had to have surgery, went through rehabilitation, killed his baseball career, killed his college career. He went finished college, became a personal injury attorney where he now helps people who've been in car wrecks or bit by dogs or whatever. And I said, William, have you ever told that story to anybody? And he's like, no. So we're going to. And so we created his book and took that story. His book is called When Life Throws You a Curveball, What to Do When You're in an Accident, by William Franke, baseball player turned attorney. So now he goes on the morning TV show, right? Part of his marketing. And he carries a baseball bat or a glove with his book. And he says, if you've been in a car accident or slipped and fall or a dog bit you, I want to help you because I've been there. And he tells that story and he immediately connects at the heart level with his audience. Every business owner out there has some kind of a story like that that will differentiate you from everybody else. Tell that story. We always start there, Jake.
I love that you say that because, one of the things that we do in the way that we teach is like we have the 5 must do's to write and complete a book. And of all of the things that anybody teaches that I've ever met is you have to, whether it's a business program, whether it's a book, whether it's starting a new business, whether it's figuring out what you want to do with your life, it all begins by understanding the vision, understanding the awareness. Who are you and where do you want to go? What have you been through? What have you experienced? What are the skills you've accumulated? And how can we position that for you to get the job you want, to build the business you want, to write the book that you know you are capable of writing? And so I love that you start with the clear message. Now, it's clear that we talk with the clear message. It's also clear that you love your C's because you're a big credibility guy. All right. All right. And so what is one of the things, what are some of the benefits that being credible from an author allows, and what are the doors that it opens?
Yeah, so credibility is really what happens in the mind of your audience, right? Everybody says you work with people who you know, like, and trust. Yeah, you do, but credibility goes deeper than that. And it's that level of belief, right? And what it does is it opens doors. It's like going to Disney and buying the fast pass to the front of the line. Because your prospects are looking, they're searching, and you're one of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people that they're looking at. Whatever your industry, doesn't matter. Credibility speaks to them and go, oh, this guy's an author or a best-selling author. That's intriguing to me, and I want to read that book. Here's what happens. Too many times, Jake, in business, we are trying to get that appointment. Why? Because we want an opportunity to build common ground so that they'll get to like us. Why wait? Give them a copy of your book. Let them spend 2 or 3 hours this weekend reading with you one-on-one, getting to know you, nodding their head, going, I liked it. That makes, yeah. Next step, maybe have the call. So that first call is really a second or a third appointment because you've laid all the groundwork. That's credibility marketing. That's what we teach our clients.
No, that's great stuff. And so talk to us about, we now understand like why we need credibility, right? It's the fast pass. You get in the fast lane. People have a direct line into your head to learn your style, your teaching, all of that good jazz. What are some of the ways that we can use the book to market our business or to grow our business?
Yeah. Well, gosh, I'll give you like 2 or 3 real quick. So obviously, number one, it needs to be on your website, right? It needs to be a free download. I'm a big proponent of your book's on Amazon and Kindle for credibility purposes. You're not going to get rid of selling that thing up there, right? Drive people to your website, give them a free PDF copy of it. Now, this is our philosophy. Then the thank you page comes up, and I have a video there saying, hey, thanks so much for downloading a copy of my book. It'll be in your inbox in about 5 minutes. I tell you what, I would love to mail you a copy, absolutely free. You can dog ear it, you can highlight it, you'll learn a whole lot more, and I'll give it to you for free. Just tell me where to mail it. It'll be in your inbox in 2 or 3 days. I'm a big fan of capturing all of that mailing information so that I can do some direct mail to them as well, because everybody's online. That's great. I want to show up in your mailbox because there's only like 3 pieces of mail in your mailbox every day. So that's one. Okay.
Okay. Real quick. I want to jump in on that. Cause I tell people all the time, give away your book, give away your book, give away your book. I want to get tactical for a second, if you don't mind.
Sure.
When you have it on your website, right? And everyone has a different website host and all that good jazz. Are you collecting it through your email provider? Are you using some form of a funnel system? What is the tech? Because I know this trips people up and they're like, well, I don't know how to do this. Well, Let's give you the real quick here. What are some of the tech pieces or the way that you use to kind of set that up?
Yeah. So on our website, we would have a book offer, right, with an email. And they put in their email, they hit submit, it would go to our CRM system. So
Yep.
you can use something as simple as MailChimp if you don't have one, right? We're using Fusionsoft. So it comes into that, kicks off a system automatically that you've pre-written. This is that delivers the book, thank you page, all of that. Really simple. And that's all the more complex you need to be is the email first. And then the thank you page is where that video is, and you capture more information. They submit that. Again, it goes to your CRM system. It sends you an email to say, hey, Jake just requested a copy of your book. What we have found, and when we've tested that strategy with clients, 50% of the people who opt in for the PDF ask for the physical copy. That's pretty good. And most of my clients are local, like financial advisors, attorneys in local markets, okay? And that's pretty good. So the tech, you don't have to have high tech. Use a landing page. If you can't program your website, use something like Lead Pages or something simple. Connect it with MailChimp. Build a really simple system. You don't need complex systems. You need simple strategies and short email follow-up, 3 to 5 emails to build relationship and trust. The last thing you want to do, I think, is go after the appointment fast, because that says I'm needy. You want to act like your heart surgeon. Can you get in to see your heart surgeon today? Yeah, no, probably not. You want to delay that sale and give opportunity to put the book into their hands to build that credibility, because that's different than what everybody else is doing. That's exactly why you want to do it.
Awesome. And thank you for going into that. And just for everyone that's listening here, you can use a lot of different services for this, right? You can use MailChimp, ConvertKit, Infusionsoft, ActiveCampaign, all of these platforms. And these are email service providers and CRMs that will allow you to kind of set something up, collect an email, tag the prospect, further communicate with them, send autoresponders. And this is just like step one. Okay, once you have a book, give people a chance to get it for free without you actually doing anything.
Absolutely.
Right? That's what it's setting up. And in the way that you frame it is, this is the first phase of like that credibility. All right, you have the book. Now let's get it in the hands of more people coming from a place of non-neediness, coming from a place of knowing what you've just done and knowing how much it can help somebody. All right, thank you for going into that. Let's keep it going here where you were going with this. After you've opted them in, after they've maybe said yes, the 50% say yes, you mailed them a copy of your book. What else you got?
Yeah. So, well, how you mail your books is a totally different story, because I put it in a big gold envelope and mail it so that when it shows up, it's an experience. That's why people go to Disney and pay 5 times over price, versus like Six Flags, because of the experience. So you want to show up differently. But how about when you're working with that client, that prospect who becomes a client, whether it's a long process or not? So let's take my personal injury guy, right? He's working with that client for a number of months. Well, all through that time period, guess what they're doing? They're always talking to their friends about what's going on and how they're returning. That's a great time to get referrals. So, Jake, would you do me a favor? And you say, yeah. Would you take 3 or 4 copies of my book? And as you're talking to your friends about your case and how we're working things, would you just give them a copy of my book and say, hey, if you ever need a personal injury attorney, look at my guy. He's the guy who wrote the book on. There you go, because all of your friends all of your clients run in circles of friends just like them. Use your book to get referrals. That's another one.
I love this, and it's we do something similar, and I love how you're articulating this, because what I want everyone to understand is we're in the same world, right? Totally. So we 100%. Know a lot of things because we've been in this for a while. We've written books. We've helped people write books. But for people that have not written books, okay, I want you to see that there are strategies that are timeless. Oh, totally. Books are one of the best marketing tools that have always been around and will always continue to be around. Of course, there's evolutions within that, but books are always something that are great because it can be digital, it can be physical, it can be an experience, it can be a chance to get to know somebody. All right, and so you talk about giving out the books, and it reminded me at my live event. We just did a live event, and we gave everyone who attended a copy. Mm-hmm. But then what we started to do was, everybody was like, oh, I got some friends who I should totally tell about this event. Well, guess what I did? I said, hey, here's a couple copies. Yeah. Go ahead and gift it to them. And I want to share this with the audience. I share the story because I want you guys to see that writing the book is just the first step. Then there's the opportunity of what comes next. And Michael's just killing it for us. He's setting up an entire funnel for you right now to bring in clients and to sign people. And so with that, Michael, I want to dig in a little even further is you have something called the credibility calculator. Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what the credibility calculator is and how people can use it to benefit and add to what you've already shared today.
Yeah. So I mean, I talk about credibility all the time, Jake, and people started asking me, well, what is it? How do you know? And so I created this calculator a number of years ago. It's 20 questions that we've created. It takes less than 5 minutes. It's online. And what it does is it goes through and asks you these really simple questions that are really going on in the mind of your audience. What does your audience think of? How do they gauge you in terms of, are you credible or are you not? So these 20 questions diagnose for you how your audience sees you. So after you answer 20 questions, you hit submit, we'll give you your score. It's 0 to 100. And then I've got 5 videos that follow that will tell you what to do to improve your credibility score in the eyes of your audience.
What are if you know off the top of your head, I know I'm throwing you on the spot, we didn't prep this, but what are some of the things or questions or thoughts that we should have around how credible we are based on having a book?
Yeah. So one of them is, I mean, are you an author? Do you have a book? That's one of my questions. Are you a best-selling author? Do you have a podcast? Do you have endorsements on your website of clients or centers of influence, high-profile people speaking about you? How long have you been in business? These are just some of the things that your audience is thinking. That's what you're going to learn in the credibility calculator. And it's also how many referrals do you get on a regular basis? That will tell you how credible you are in the eyes of your centers of influence. Because if you're not getting a lot of referrals, that tells you something, right? And how often are you being invited to speak on podcast stages, events like Jake's? Because if you're not, that speaks to your credibility or lack of it. So it's these types of questions that you should be going, oh, I need to work on that and that and that. And that's primarily why we put the calculator out there, to give you an insight into how other people see you. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes a ton of sense.
Okay.
It makes a ton of sense. But the biggest takeaway that I want everyone to have from that answer and everything you said is that there is a whole nother world out there the minute the book becomes real.
Oh, totally.
There is a whole nother world. And oftentimes we can't even see the opportunities until we have the book. And then it's like going from seeing in black and white to seeing in color.
Yeah, exactly.
You're living your life. You're doing all these different things. And I did the same thing. I'm trying VSLs, webinars, ads, groups, different social media platforms, cold outreach, all of these things. And then I realized, like, oh my gosh, like, I have a book. All I should be focusing on is leveraging the book, because that is my story and my expertise all in one package.
Yeah.
And then, exactly like you're saying, I was like, oh my gosh, the entire world just opened up for me.
Yeah.
And so when people work with you and write books, what are some of the opportunities that come from them? We know we've gotten tactical, right? Let's talk about some of the possibilities that happen when people get their book to completion and establish themselves as that credible authority.
Yeah. Well, the best thing that's ever going to happen in my mind is you gain clients. So we just published a book, a financial advisor. She's up in Canada. She's a good marketer, and she followed our strategy after her book launched. We made her an Amazon best-selling author, and we said, okay, just send an email out to your list. She had a database of about 800 people. I said, just send an email out and say, hey, I've got a new book. I'm happy to give you a copy. She ended up sending out 80 copies of her book to her list. Okay. Out of those 80, she told me a week or two later, she had a number of people come in, but one particular story, a lady walked in, her financial advisor was retiring. So she was looking for somebody. She got the email. She came in. She's like, I've read your book. I want to switch all my money to you. And I've got my sister who has the same financial advisor who's retiring. She's going to come to you too. After 2 weeks of publishing her book, because she gave it out to her list, people who knew her, she said, I've already made enough in commissions to pay for what I paid you, Michael. The rest is gravy. And she's just getting started. But you don't have to do lots of Facebook ads and things. You need to start with what you have. And if your list is 100, start there. Get on some podcasts, but find a way to use your book to communicate that crystal clear message. Put your book in people's hands and let your credibility take over. You're going to gain clients.
I love stories like that. I love stories like that because we see it all the time. And so You know, I thought it was really interesting that you mentioned start with what you have.
Yeah.
I think
Very good.
sometimes in our world today, we're like, oh, we need to hit the masses. We need to go to all of these things. We need to borrow everyone else's audience. And I'd love for you to kind of dig in here on what does it mean to start with what you have? What are the types of people that you may have? What are you specifically referencing that we can do to start at so we can capitalize on our existing audience before going to try and find all these other people? Because you may have everything you need already.
Absolutely. So number one, hopefully you have a database of some nature, right? Start there. Send what I call a short email. It's like, Jake, don't buy my book. I'd like to give you a copy of my new book, absolutely free. Just respond to this email with book and I will mail it out to you, or I'll get you a copy. That's number one. People are going to respond to that. How about you've got a book now, okay? And let's say you've got 12 chapters in your book. Why don't you do a short form video on every single chapter? Put that on YouTube, put that on Facebook, put that on your website. So when people are searching your website, they actually have content there and they get to know who you are because you're on video. Okay. How about that? How about, do you have a podcast? I hope you do. If not, well, you need to start one and do a podcast episode on every chapter of your book. And that's the beauty of having the crystal clear message of your book. I mean, Jake, I talk about on marketing everywhere I go because I don't ever have to worry about what I'm talking about because that's my message. And that becomes your message when you have the book. So start with your database. I call it a dormant database because usually you're not doing anything with them. This is how you breathe life into a dormant database. Don't buy my book. Let me give you a free copy. Number one, do videos, short form videos on every chapter. And if you have a podcast, do an episode on your podcast. And that's where you start. That's simple. That's like low cost, very implementable, if that's the word.
Do you think that a lot of people, don't start there? And why do you think people don't start there? Because as you're saying, it's like, oh, of course I should start there. But I know I've been guilty of not doing that myself. Is I'm like, okay, we're going for this. We're going for this. I need to be here. I need to be here. But then I'm like, wait a sec. I have a bunch of people that already follow me. I have 6,000 something Instagram followers. That's enough to fill out an arena of some capacity. Like, why do we tell ourselves a story that we always need more or we need new?
Yeah. Well, it's one of the biggest myths in marketing is that I need more leads, Jake. And the reality is, no, you don't. What you need to do is do a better job of educating and converting the leads that you already have. If you do the research, research across all industries says less than 3% of the people are in the market for what you offer today. About 67% are going to be in the market in the next 3 months to 3 years. Are you staying in touch with those people? Those are the people in your database. They reached out, they did something, but they're not ready yet. If you're not staying in touch with them, then they're going to go somewhere else. Another simple strategy, heaven forbid, send a weekly email about your book, about content, about something, right? Always giving people an offer to go back to your website and get a free copy of your entire book. And two more simple ones, dude. On your LinkedIn profile, make sure it says author of and a copy and the title of your book. And on your email signature, author of. Get my book on Amazon for $19.95, or let me give you a free copy here. Click back to my website. Those are just low-hanging fruit, but I think so many people think, well, they didn't buy when I first saw them, or they haven't done anything, so they're not interested. No, they may not be ready yet. They need a good offer.
Come on. This is too good. This is too good. This is what it's all about here. So how do we find out more about you? How do we follow you? How do we work with you? Give us the goods.
Yeah, paperbackexpert.com. That's our website. It's a hub of all things Michael. You can find everything about me, credibility calculators right there. We've got a lot of free trainings, Jake, for business and marketing on that site, but paperbackexpert.com.
Beautiful. There it is. There it is. Well, Michael, hey, this has been an absolute privilege. I love chatting with you. I've always enjoyed our conversations, but it's cool now to bring this conversation to light so that everybody can experience the marketing genius and here's some of these tactical strategies that people can apply. So thank you for coming on the show.
You're welcome, Jake. It has been a great joy, buddy.
Awesome. And for those of you that are listening, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I hope that you found some type of strategy that really excites you about bringing your book to life, or that you found something that if you already have a book, you can implement right now. And so my challenge to you after listening to this episode is to do one of the things we talked about in this episode and then let Michael know. Go to his website, get one of his things, or send him a message and contact him, letting him know the thing that you did and the result that came from it. Because sometimes we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And ladies and gentlemen, you have been reminded and you have been taught today. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.